Welcome back to our continuing interview with my good friend Jason Douglas. I just saw Dropa. I just watched it like 2 days ago because I knew we were going to talk and I wanted to check it out.
Yeah.
And it was definitely interesting with an alternate reality and aliens combined into one. How did you get involved with that movie?
Sure. So if your audience doesn't know, Dropa is a film that an independent science fiction film that shot in mostly Houston, Texas, and Galveston. Shot on a pretty low budget, as it turns out, for a film that I think looks a lot more expensive than it actually is. I don't know what your thoughts are just having watched it, but somebody reached out to me actually 5 or 6 years ago about this film. And I read for it. He loved my work in that lead character that you saw me do. It's very Blade Runner meets District 9. It's almost, it's not a remake, but it's definitely an homage, I think, to kind of the plot of Blade Runner and some of the themes thematically.
Was exactly my thought was that it was someone was trying to do a very Blade Runner-like film. You were basically the Rutger Hauer character.
Right.
I just wanted you to be like disappearing like tears in the rain. It was just
sure. And over the years that followed, this was kind of an Orson Welles type of situation where I'm going to shoot what I can when I have the money. And so he would pick up shots as he could over the years and develop the story. Was able to finally get funding to complete the shooting. And by that time, cast kind of options had shifted. And what's interesting is, I guess our big name in the film is James Hong, who obviously was in Blade Runner and Big Trouble in Little China. Just a delightful man, but his stuff was shot, I would say, at least 3 to 4 years ago. And so all the stuff you saw in that film was the footage that he shot at that time. And Wayne Slayton, who's the director, very wisely shot it out in plates. So there were no sort of two shots, if you will. Everything was shot kind of as a single. And so the actor that originally was playing the role that Dave Matranga played, he's in the movie, but he was originally playing Dave's role. So James Hong shot that scene with a different actor entirely. And when David Matranga was brought on board, they were able to just shoot David in that scene and then cut it together. And I thought it looked great. The other actor is a fine actor named Matt Carter, who I've known for years from Houston. And he's in the film. He's got a good role in the film, just a different role.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that they weren't shooting it together. I did recognize James Hong, and I was like, wow, they got Jason and James. It's like,
sure.
They got some named people in there.
Well, it's an interesting cast because Dave Matranga, the lead. He's a fine actor, and I've worked with him on stage, and I think he's an aspiring film actor as well. He hasn't done quite as much, but it was great working with him. But he's also best known in his career in the anime world, and also his girlfriend Emily Neves is also in the film, and she's also quite well known in the anime world. So we've got these anime themes running through in terms of the casting, but it's live action film. So
one more thing I want to talk about before we take a break, and that is Under Controll. Now, I was a little confused because I looked online. I saw a couple different trailers for it. Is that a foreign film that you were dubbing a voice, or is it being remade or partially remade? What's?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Under Control is this very strange film featuring, not starring, but featuring George Hardy, who some folks may remember from Troll 2, okay, or the best, worst movie ever. if you've ever seen that documentary. Under Control is a film that was made in Germany by German actors, okay, by a German film company. They shot it and they scripted it in English. Okay, so they shot it in English. German actors trying to speak English. All right. But then what they decided to do was redub it back into German. So they dubbed it. So if you were to watch the original German version of this that got a limited release, you'd be watching German actors, you'd be hearing German, but it would be dubbed from English, which is very strange. And at a certain point, Ava Habermann, who kind of was the lead in the film, she's a well-known German actress, beautiful lady, very talented, and she was kind of at the helm of this picture. She's the lead in the picture. And she decided to dust it off and try to create something for more of an international distribution. And so she brought it to the United States, and she brought it to Austin, Texas. And she was already connected to George Hardy because George is in the film. And George connected her to a filmmaker that we had both worked with on a film called Texas Cotton. And so he actually directed this reimagining, this redub of the script. And so they hired me. They brought in Chris Sabat, Elizabeth Maxwell, a number of actors who are sort of kind of well-known in the voiceover world to dub it back into English. And they sort of rewrote the script. They just decided, let's make some improvements to the script. Let's try to make it make sense a little bit better. But it's a really campy movie. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and I think it's intentionally so. And I think I can say that without offending anybody. I mean, it is that kind of old school in the kind of Gremlins fashion, that old kind of like kooky, obviously puppet style.
Movies like
creatures
and Control 2 and stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it's ridiculous. The film is ridiculous, but it's a ton of fun. It's the kind of movie that you sit there and, I mean, if you enjoy sitting through something like Sharknado, then I would think you would enjoy sitting through this film.
It definitely looks like something that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Oh, please. There's no seriousness in this film at all. And if you're a Troll 2 fan, I've found that there are some Troll 2 fans. We had a screening of this in the Dallas area at an Alamo Draft House in downtown Dallas, and the theater was packed, Kyle. And on one or two entire rows were taken up with a local late night improv theater troupe who does a sketch version of Troll 2. Basically, they do the movie Troll 2 on stage, and they were all there. And they were thrilled to see George in person, which, if you don't know who George Hardy is, I don't know what to tell you. George is a dentist out of Southern Alabama, I think. And I don't know how he got hooked into the whole Troll 2 world, but yeah, he's in the film. And again, he and I have done a few things together in the last few years. He's I talked earlier about, folks who just love the craft from the outside looking in, and they just want to do a movie. They just want to be an extra in something because they love it. And that's all it is with George. He just loves it. There's no kind of weird ambition about his career. Like he's the smilingest, happiest guy you'll ever meet. And he's just happy to be here. He's that guy, just happy to be there. It's interesting. The first thing I worked on with George is a film called Texas Cotton, kind of a Texas thriller action movie. I don't know, silly thing. And then of course, not long after that, we were just talking about Under Control, and then I just a few months ago I shot something with George in Baltimore, a film called Cyst, and it will be a kind of schlocky, campy horror movie about a cyst doctor that brings his subjects to life. I don't know how to describe it. It's like Frankenstein meets the Blob or something, and it's ridiculous but interesting. The connection is that our lead actress is Ava Haberman, who was the producer and also the lead in Under Controll. So she came to the United States to work with the team on this, and she's delightful. And of course, George is in the film. He plays the mad doctor, and we have actors from The Room. As well as I'm there. I don't know what I'm doing in it, but it's kind of a silly, fun, campy fun. I seem to attract these lately, and I can't keep myself away from it. So,
all right. And you said there's another movie that you've been.
Right. So what's coming up next for me is a film called Whitetail. And we shot that here in North Texas, and it's really kind of a crime thriller. It's these father-son and an uncle. They kind of go out in the woods to take the son on his first hunting trip, and they stumble across the aftermath of a crime and get involved in some things that they'd probably rather not be a part of. And so it's one of these really hard, blood simple kind of, blood and violence and kind of Southern Gothic horror, I guess you might say.
Sounds fun.
But it's an interesting film. I worked with a couple of actors, Billy Blair and Tom Zembrod, and so. Yeah, really great. I love the whole independent filmmaking vibe. There's really some great writing that's happening, now, and film, because of the distribution and production has changed so much over the last couple decades. There are a lot of young filmmakers making films that may or may not get seen or noticed, but they are very often able to get some kind of distribution happening, but this is a guy that I'm really high on, Derek Presley. He's a director here in the Dallas area, and so I'm excited about what he's doing. And in fact, we're about to roll into another shoot in June on his next film. So that's when I was referencing earlier that hopefully soon I can talk about who is involved with it, but it's still pre-production, so you never know. How that's going to shake out.
Yeah, well, keep us posted.
Yep.
And we'll keep an eye out for all your projects coming up.
I do appreciate that.
But I got to say, Under Control, first of all, the pun is just
it's pretty on the nose, but yeah, it's that's fairly consistent with the theme of the project.
Yeah, it looks like a fun film, and that one I'm definitely looking forward to. And for those watching, definitely check out Dropa. Mikhail here, he does a great Russian accent, and
thank you.
Has some great running scenes. You were kind of like reminded me in that one running scene. You look like kind of like the T-1000. We will be right back.
This is Goku. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah!